You know that sinking feeling when you walk into your office and something's just wrong, not like a messy desk wrong, not like you forgot to save a file wrong. I'm talking deep in your gut wrong. The kind of wrong that makes your skin crawl before you even figure out what's happened. The kind of wrong that tells you something terrible has happened before you even see the evidence. That was me at 8:47 a.m. on a Monday morning. I was ready to crush the presentation that would seal my promotion. I'd been working on it for 3 months. 3 months of late nights, early mornings, and weekends sacrificed to the corporate gods. 3 months of blood, sweat, and tears. This was my shot. My one chance to finally move up from senior analyst to department director. My one chance to prove that I was worth more than they'd been giving me. My one chance to finally get the recognition I deserved after years of grinding. My name's Theresa. I'm 43. A senior financial analyst at Sterling & Associates, a consulting firm in downtown Chicago. I've been with the company for 9 years. 9 years of grinding, hustling, and playing the corporate game. 9 years of proving myself over and over again. I'd earned my stripes, I'd paid my dues. I'd done everything right. I'd never taken a shortcut, never stepped on anyone to get ahead, never compromised my integrity. I was the one who stayed late when everyone else went home. I was the one who took on the projects nobody else wanted. I was the one who always delivered. And now it was all about to pay off. Or so I thought. I opened my laptop to do a final review of the presentation. I'd saved it in 3 different places, just to be safe. I'd backed it up on the cloud, on a flash drive, and on my desktop. I was paranoid about losing my work. I'd learned the hard way that technology could fail you at the worst possible moment. But the file was gone, completely gone, not in my recent documents, not in my saved files, not in the shared drive, not on the cloud, not anywhere. It was like it had never existed, like it had been erased from existence. My heart started pounding. I checked the recycle bin. Nothing. I checked the backup server. Nothing. I checked my email for any version I might have sent myself. Nothing. I checked every folder, every drive, every corner of my computer. Nothing. It was gone. Every single piece of work I'd done for the past 3 months vanished into thin air. All that work, all those hours, all that effort, gone. Years of effort, years of sacrifice, years of grinding, all of it gone in an instant. I called IT. They ran a diagnostic. They found evidence of a remote login. Someone had accessed my computer from outside the network and deleted the files. Deliberately, maliciously, with the specific intention of sabotaging me. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a glitch. This was a deliberate attack. This was personal. I knew exactly who it was. There was only one person in the office who had the skills, the access, and the motive. Only one person who would benefit from my failure. Only one person who'd been gunning for me from day one. Only one person who'd been watching me, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. His name was Bradley. He was 38. A senior analyst just like me, and he was my competition for the promotion. He'd been gunning for the position since the day it was announced, and he'd do whatever it took to get it. He was ruthless, ambitious, and completely without ethics. He was the kind of person who would smile in your face while planting a knife in your back. I'd suspected he was playing dirty. There'd been rumors about him before, whispers that he'd stolen credit from other coworkers, that he'd thrown people under the bus, that he'd do anything to climb the ladder. People talked about him in hushed tones, warning each other to be careful around him. But I'd never had proof. I'd always given him the benefit of the doubt. I'd always believed that hard work and integrity would win in the end. Now I did. Now I had proof, and I was going to destroy him. Bradley was the kind of guy who smiled in your face while planting a knife in your back. He was charming, charismatic, and completely devoid of ethics. He'd talk about teamwork and collaboration while systematically eliminating anyone who stood in his way. He'd praise your work while stealing your ideas. He'd offer to help while sabotaging your projects. He'd pretend to be your friend while destroying your career. He'd been at Sterling for 5 years, which was shorter than my tenure. But he'd made up for it with ruthless ambition. He'd aligned himself with the right people, cultivated the right relationships, and made himself indispensable to the powers that be. He knew how to play the game, and he played it well. He knew who to flatter, who to befriend, and who to destroy, and he'd made it his mission to take me down. The sabotage wasn't the first time he'd targeted me. There were other incidents, smaller ones that I'd brushed off as coincidences. I'd been too trusting, too naive, too willing to believe the best in people. I'd convinced myself that I was just being paranoid, that I was imagining things, that I was being a bad colleague for even thinking such thoughts. A client file that went missing right before a big meeting. A project that got delayed because someone had deleted the shared documents. A presentation that was supposed to be mine, but somehow ended up with Bradley's name on it. A report that was mysteriously corrupted right before I was supposed to present it to the board. A client who suddenly canceled after months of negotiations, citing vague concerns about our firm's reliability. I'd been naive. I'd assumed it was just office chaos, just the usual corporate dysfunction. I'd thought it was just bad luck. I'd thought it was just the universe conspiring against me. But now I knew the truth. It was Bradley. All of it. He'd been systematically undermining me for months. He'd been methodically destroying my reputation, one incident at a time. And he was about to get away with it. Without my presentation, I couldn't compete for the promotion. Bradley was the only other candidate. And he'd been preparing his own presentation for months. He'd probably already submitted it, already secured the support he needed. He'd been planning this for a long time. He'd been patient. He'd been methodical. He'd been ruthless. I was out, sabotaged, finished. My career was over. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd sacrificed for, everything I'd believed in was gone. All because of one man's ambition. All because of one man's greed. All because of one man's complete and utter lack of ethics. But I wasn't going down without a fight. I was going to fight back with everything I had. I was going to expose him. I was going to destroy him. I was going to make sure he never did this to anyone else again. I went to HR. I told them what had happened, showed them the IT report, and demanded they investigate. I told them everything, the deleted files, the remote login, my suspicions about Bradley. I laid it all out. I held nothing back. The HR director, a woman named Patricia, listened to my story with a carefully neutral expression. She was a professional, and she didn't let her feelings show. "I'll look into it, Theresa. But you have to understand, this is a serious accusation. You're accusing a coworker of deliberately sabotaging you. If you're wrong, it could backfire spectacularly. It could cost you your job. It could destroy your career. I'm not wrong. I know it was Bradley. He's the only one with the motive and the means. He's the only one who benefits from my failure. He's the only one who has the skills to pull this off. He's the only one who hates me enough to do this." "That's not enough," Patricia said. "We need concrete evidence, hard evidence. If we can prove that Bradley accessed your computer and deleted those files, we'll take action. But without that proof, it's just your word against his. And that's not enough. That will never be enough." I understood. I'd been around long enough to know how this game worked. I knew the rules. I knew the system. I knew that without proof I was powerless. But I wasn't going to let it go. I was going to find that proof. No matter what it took, I was going to expose him. I was going to destroy him. So I started digging. I went through Bradley's computer records. His email, his social media, his financial records. I looked for anything that would prove he'd sabotaged me. I was determined to find the truth. I was determined to bring him down. I was going through Bradley's public records when I noticed something that didn't add up. He'd listed his education as a degree from a prestigious university, a top-tier school. The kind of school that opens doors. The kind of school that impresses people. The kind of school that makes people assume you're competent and trustworthy. But the dates didn't match. The timeline was wrong. Something was off. I did some digging. I contacted the university. I asked for verification of Bradley's degree. I called the registrar's office. Sent emails. Made follow-up calls. I was persistent. I was relentless. I wasn't going to let it go. They didn't have any record of him ever attending. Not a single course, not a single credit, not a single transcript, nothing, not a trace, not a whisper. My heart was pounding. This was huge. This was massive. Bradley had been lying about his qualifications for years. He didn't have a degree. He'd never graduated college. He'd been faking it the whole time. He'd been presenting himself as a highly qualified professional when he was nothing of the sort. I couldn't believe it. All this time, Bradley had been presenting himself as a highly qualified professional. He'd been taking credit for work he wasn't qualified to do. He'd been climbing the ladder on a foundation of lies. He'd been deceiving everyone. He'd been committing fraud. He'd been stealing money from the company under false pretenses. And now I had the proof. But I didn't want to just expose him. I wanted to make sure he paid for everything. The sabotage, the lies, the years of manipulation, the careers he'd destroyed, the lives he'd ruined, the people he'd hurt. I wanted to make sure he could never do this to anyone else again. I gathered all the evidence I could find. The IT report showing the remote login, the emails proving Bradley had been undermining me, the records showing he'd never graduated college, the testimony of other coworkers he'd wronged, the trail of destruction he'd left behind. I built a case that would be impossible to ignore, a case that would bring him down. I organized it all, built a case, and prepared to present it to the powers that be. I wanted to make sure that everyone knew the truth about Bradley. I wanted to expose him for the fraud he was. I wanted to make sure he could never hurt anyone ever again, but I wanted to do it publicly. I wanted everyone to see exactly what kind of person Bradley really was. I wanted him to face the consequences of his actions in front of the people he'd been deceiving. I wanted him to be humiliated the way he'd humiliated others. I wanted him to feel the same pain he'd caused so many others. The promotion announcement was scheduled for the next quarterly meeting. Bradley was the favorite. Everyone expected him to get it. He'd been playing the game perfectly. He'd been manipulating everyone. He'd been controlling the narrative. He'd been winning. I decided that's where I'd expose him. I spent the next few weeks preparing. I practiced my speech. I organized my evidence. I made sure everything was perfect. I was nervous. I was scared. But I was also determined. I was going to bring him down. I was going to expose him. I was going to destroy him. The day of the meeting arrived. I walked into the conference room with my head held high. My heart was pounding. My hands were sweating. But I was ready. I was prepared. I was going to do this. Bradley gave his presentation first. He was smooth, confident, and completely in control. He smiled at the right moments. He made the right jokes. He said all the right things. He was a master of the game. He was a master of deception. When he finished, there was polite applause. The CEO stood up. "Thank you, Bradley. That was excellent. I think we all know who the clear choice is for this promotion. Bradley has demonstrated exceptional leadership and vision. He's earned this." "Not so fast," I said, standing up. My voice was steady. My hands were steady. I was ready. Everyone turned to look at me. The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. The tension was palpable. "Excuse me, Theresa," the CEO said. His brow furrowed. "This isn't the time for interruptions. This is a formal meeting. This is not appropriate." "I have something to say," I interrupted. "Something that's going to change everything. Something everyone needs to hear. Something that's been hidden for too long." I walked to the front of the room and plugged my laptop into the projector. I want to share some information with you all. Information about Bradley's qualifications. Information he's been hiding from all of us. Information that will shock you. Bradley's face went white. His confident facade crumbled. He looked like a deer caught in headlights. What are you doing, Theresa? This isn't the time or the place. This is inappropriate. You're making a scene. You're embarrassing yourself. I think it's the perfect time and place, I said, pulling up the first piece of evidence. I've been investigating Bradley's background, and I've discovered something interesting. Something he's been hiding from all of us. Something that changes everything. I showed the records from the university. The ones that proved Bradley had never graduated. The ones that showed he'd been lying for years. According to this, Bradley attended the university for 2 years, but he never completed his degree. He dropped out and never went back. He's been lying about his qualifications for the entire time he's been at this company. He's been faking it for years. He's been committing fraud. He's been stealing money under false pretenses. The room erupted. People were whispering, pointing, staring at Bradley with shock and disgust. His carefully constructed facade was crumbling. His lies were exposed. His deception was revealed. Bradley tried to defend himself. "That's not true," he stammered. "Those records are fake. She's just bitter because she didn't get the promotion. She's trying to destroy me because she's jealous. She's always been jealous of me. She's always been trying to tear me down." "Really?" I said, pulling up more evidence. "Then how do you explain this?" "This is an email you sent to your advisor, asking about re-enrolling, and this is a voicemail you left, begging to have your transcript expunged. And this is a letter from the university confirming that you never completed your degree. And this is a letter from your former employer, confirming that you lied about your qualifications to get the job. And this is a letter from a client, confirming that you lied to them about your credentials." I laid it all out. Every piece of evidence. Every lie. Every manipulation. Every instance of fraud. Everything he'd done to climb the ladder. Everything he'd done to destroy others. Everything he'd done to deceive everyone. The CEO was staring at Bradley, his face a mask of disbelief. "Is this true, Bradley? Is this true? Did you lie about your degree? Did you lie about everything?" Bradley didn't say anything. He just stood there, his face pale, his hands shaking. He knew it was over. He knew he'd been exposed. He knew he'd been destroyed. He knew he'd lost everything. "I think that's answer enough," I said. "Bradley's been lying to all of us. He's been sabotaging his coworkers and taking credit for their work. He's been committing fraud. He's been stealing money. He's been destroying lives. And now, he's going to face the consequences." The room erupted again. People were shouting, demanding answers, demanding action. The CEO was on the phone with HR. The security team was called. Bradley was escorted out of the building. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Bradley was fired. His reputation was destroyed. His career was over. His life was ruined. He'd never work in the industry again. He'd never be trusted again. He'd never recover from this. I was offered the promotion. I accepted. I had earned it. I had fought for it. I had won. But I didn't feel satisfied. I didn't feel happy. I just felt tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of proving myself. Tired of dealing with people who didn't deserve the positions they held. Tired of the corporate game. Tired of the lies. Tired of the deception. It was a bitter victory. I had won, but I had lost something too. I had lost my faith in the system. I had lost my faith in people. I had lost my innocence. I had seen the ugliness of the corporate world up close, and it had changed me. But I was also proud. Proud that I had stood up for myself. Proud that I had fought back. Proud that I had exposed the truth. Proud that I had won. I walked out of the conference room with my head held high. I had done it. I had exposed him. I had destroyed him. I had won. After the meeting, I went back to my office and sat down. My hands were still shaking. My heart was still pounding. I couldn't believe what had just happened. I couldn't believe that I had actually done it. I took a deep breath and looked at the photos on my desk. My husband, my children, my family. They were the reason I had fought so hard. They were the reason I had refused to give up. They were the reason I had won. I called Marcus. I told him everything. He was proud of me. He had always believed in me. He had always known I could do it. "I'm so proud of you," he said. "You did the right thing. You exposed him. You protected yourself. You protected others. You won." "Thank you," I said. "I couldn't have done it without you. You gave me the strength to keep going. You gave me the courage to fight back. You gave me the support I needed to win." "I love you," he said. "I've always loved you, and I will always support you, no matter what." I smiled. "I love you too. Thank you for everything." I hung up the phone and sat back in my chair. I felt a sense of peace wash over me. It was finally over. The nightmare was finally over. I had won. I had exposed him. I had destroyed him. I had protected myself. I had protected others. I had done the right thing. The next few weeks were a blur. Bradley was gone. His name was mud. His reputation was destroyed. His career was over. He'd never work in the industry again. He'd never be trusted again. He'd never recover from this. I was offered the promotion. I accepted. I had earned it. I had fought for it. I had won. I started my new role as department director. It was challenging, but I was ready. I had the skills. I had the experience. I had the determination. I had the drive. I was going to succeed. I was going to prove that I deserved this. I was going to prove that I was the right person for the job. I also made some changes. I implemented new policies to prevent sabotage. I created a more supportive work environment. I encouraged collaboration and teamwork. I made sure that no one else would ever have to go through what I went through. And I started speaking out. I told my story to anyone who would listen. I wrote articles, I gave interviews. I shared my experience with others. I wanted to help other women who had been in similar situations. I wanted to show them that they could survive, they could thrive, they could rebuild. I created a support group for women who had been betrayed by their colleagues. It started small, just a few women in a church basement. But it grew and grew and grew. Soon, there were dozens of us. Then hundreds. Then thousands. We shared our stories. We supported each other. We helped each other heal. We helped each other rebuild. We helped each other win. And I was happy, truly happy. For the first time in a long time, I had found my way back to myself. I had found my purpose. I had found my peace. I had found my strength. I had found my voice. It's been 3 years since everything happened. 3 years since I discovered the betrayal. 3 years since I destroyed the person who had hurt me. 3 years since I started to rebuild my life. 3 years since I found my peace. I'm happy. I am at peace. I have everything I ever wanted. A loving husband, beautiful children, a successful career, a life filled with joy, a career that I built with my own hands, a reputation that I earned with my own hard work, a future that I created with my own determination. Bradley is gone. He moved away. He started a new life somewhere else. I don't know where he is now. I don't care. He's not part of my life anymore. He's not worth my time. He's not worth my energy. He's not worth my thoughts. I don't think about him much. He is not worth my time. He is not worth my energy. He is not worth my thoughts. He is not worth my tears. He is not worth my anger. He is not worth my hatred. He is not worth anything. I have forgiven him, in my own way. Not because he deserves it, not because I have forgotten what he did, but because I can't carry that anger around forever. It was too heavy. It was destroying me. It was consuming me. I had to let it go. I had to move on. I had to forgive. Not for him, for me. I have learned a valuable lesson. Trust is fragile. Once it is broken, it is almost impossible to rebuild. And sometimes the people you work with the most are the ones who hurt you the worst. Sometimes, the people you trust the most are the ones who betray you the deepest. Sometimes the people you collaborate with the most are the ones who sabotage you the hardest. But that doesn't mean you should stop trusting. It doesn't mean you should stop collaborating. It just means you should be careful. You should protect yourself. You should always be vigilant. You should always trust your instincts. You should always listen to your gut. You should always question everything. Because the truth is, our instincts are usually right. If something feels off, it probably is. If someone seems too good to be true, they probably are. And if you find yourself questioning someone's loyalty, you're probably not being paranoid. You're probably right. I ignored my instincts for years. I told myself I was being silly, being dramatic, being paranoid. I convinced myself that everything was fine, that I was just imagining things, that I was being a bad colleague for even thinking such thoughts. And look where it got me. Look what it cost me. Look what it did to my career. Look what it did to my life. So if you're reading this, and you're in a situation like the one I was in, trust yourself, trust your gut, and don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking you're crazy. Because you're not crazy, you're smart, you're perceptive, and you deserve better. You deserve the truth. You deserve justice. You deserve peace. You deserve happiness. You deserve to win. Loved this story? Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the bell icon so you never miss a video. I upload brand new stories every single day. Gripping, emotional, and packed with twists that'll keep you guessing until the very end. Don't forget to like this video if it gave you all the feels. Comment below, have you ever dealt with a workplace bully who tried to sabotage you? How did you handle it? I read every single comment. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes the best lessons come from other people's experiences. Got a story idea? Drop it in the comments. Your suggestion might just become the next video on this channel. Subscribe now and join our growing family of story lovers. New videos drop daily at 7 a.m. EST. Perfect to watch with your morning coffee. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and never let anyone make you feel like you're not enough. Because you are. You always have been, and you always will be.